Hello, everyone, and a very happy Wednesday to each and every one of you. So, right off the top, I want to give a shout out, congratulations to Tina. Tina, as you guys know, Jasmine and I are the ones that do all the courses and critiquing and all the major content for the Academy of Animated Art. And we're the founders, and we've been, it's our project forever. But we do have one other person. We have Tina, who is working behind the scenes with us. She does some copywriting for us, some business related things. And Tina just gave birth to her second son this week. And so we just wanted to give her a big congratulations from all of us and a heartfelt, just a congratulations to her and her family. And she's on maternity leave right now, so she won't hear this for a little while. But just want to let everyone know so you guys can say congratulations to Tina as well. Number two, you probably noticed that you're not seeing my face and my voice may sound a little different. So as I mentioned, I am doing a little traveling over the next few weeks with my family. Brought my laptop, brought all the stuff I needed to do these critiques. But my camera and microphone are in the bedroom where my wife and kids are sleeping. I forgot to grab them. We're still setting up. We just got here today, and I am not going back in there. So unfortunately, my voice might sound a little echoey than, like I said, than it normally is. So I hope that's okay. Okay, so let's get into it. So first up, I talked about working backwards to forwards last time, so alphabetically in reverse. So we're going to start with Tyler today. So Tyler, you have this animated monster scene. I'm sorry if you're seeing some already mock-ups. This is the second or third time I've had to record this now because I had some technical issues. It's been a long day. But okay, so for those that didn't, for a recap, we got Tyler who had this really cool initial pass at this with lots of like animated spotlights and just lots of cool stuff going on. But it was a little bit much and it was hard to parse through what was happening from each level. So when I find myself in that situation, I take a step back and I just go with like the core lighting. So in this case, we wanted to look at just how the city was influencing this monster. And Tyler, you also provided some great reference. So these are some cities with huge neon signs and I can say from like being in Times Square that the amount of light generated from there is massive. And when you're in the center of it, it feels super glowy and super bright. And actually, when you take a photograph and you can see it down here, what happens is the camera exposes for this foreground. And then what happens is everything outside of that bubble, everything outside of that bright area goes very dark because you're exposing for that brighter area. And then and so that's something to keep in mind. And I think that's the first thing that we want to talk about here is just because you're allowing for a lot of light coming in from the sky. And what I would really like to do is get a lot more darkness on the top and just allow this bottom bounce light to really, really, be the main driving force of the light as of right now on this character. Because if you look top down, the value is very consistent across the character. And when we're trying to communicate something that's massive, we don't want it to feel that even. So that's the first thing. That's one of a few things that I want you to work on. Number two was that so as the characters move into this space, I just want you to watch his overall, or the monster's overall intensity. It's pretty consistent throughout the whole scene. And one of the things that we really want to do, and this is for two reasons, is we want to have the character walk through patches of light and darkness, or just some sort of variation on that. Because if you think about the scale, and the two reasons are, number one, you want to communicate the scale of this creature, and number two is we want to create a little more drama. So and just like it's just a more dynamic image if the character is stepping through light and dark values. Scale is like again, this is huge creatures. Each step is maybe a city block, like this section of town that is very bright. Maybe it's a little darker at the beginning, and he steps into the light and gets brighter as he steps forward. Or basically, I can see it as one of two ways that you can do it. Either she's in darkness here, and then like it's all the brightness is here in the foreground, and she steps into it and really roars. Or The other one would be it's like bright back there, and then through the middle goes into darkness, and then steps into the brightness at the end. I always think of like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park as like in that the major scene where the T-Rex battle is. It's always like stepping into the flashlight light. As it leans down at the kids, it always is stepping into the flashlight light, and that is like being used as a dramatic thing. So I would really focus on that. So that's number 2. Number 1, bounce light is strong. Number 2 is really getting the character to read through the light and dark shadows. Number 3, so 2 is the value. Number 3 is more about the saturation. So, and really about these lights shining in on the character for 2 things. Number 1, like look how sharp this shadow is. So these big neon lights are very big. They have a very large radius, and they wouldn't, like, if you look at the reference, like there's no hard shadows in this. These are casting very, very soft shadows. And so you don't want to have that hard edge shape. Additionally, you want the character to be stepping in and out of these different color scenes. So like, a little bluer as steps in there. And you can see it a little bit, and I think a lot of it is because we're seeing a lot of skylight and not the influence of these. So when that happens, I just want to see some more saturation of color. So I think that's a big one that we want to go through there. So again, just to recap, less skylight, more emphasis on the bounce, value changes throughout the walk, and then modifying these little pockets of light on the character to be softer and more colorful. Okay, so now we're going to move into the still images. Tyler. So Tyler, this is your second submission. So for this one, again, we backed off a little bit. We just looked at the key light and the bounce light in here. So really strong. I like the intensity of the light, and it really feels like a sunny bit in the intensity of the main light. The problem is these dark values that we're getting. So grass, the snail, these mushrooms are all very soft, translucent objects. So when you hit light with a bunch of look at this contrast point between the grass and the light in the shadow area. Think what would happen to a blade of grass when it was hit with that much light from the front. It would not completely block the light shining through it in the shadow area. There would be translucency, and you would see that light shining through. So like this value is better. And so you'd want to see that in the grass, and the best way to do that is to add some subsurface scattering to the shader for your grass. So I would work on that. Additionally, you'll want it in the snail, because you don't want the snail to occlude the light that much, and the mushrooms, all very soft, glowy, translucent objects. Speaking of the grass, I would also eliminate a few of these blades. Again, the one that I pointed out, the contrasty one. I would remove that because look at the way compositionally it's like slashing through his eye. So if you could possibly just remove that blade or just those faces, that would work out well. And then some of these that kind of slash around his face. Like it's fine to leave these around the edge and maybe a couple of these down here, but like these 3 here that really shoot up into his face, and not those so much, but like this one that kind of cuts into his mouth. I would just kind of, it's like trimming back the foliage there. So that would be the biggest thing that I would work on. Number 2 is we got to find a way to get some more shaping on the face. I love that you're getting this nice bright glowiness, but it's really evenly illuminated across him. And again, especially if he's underneath this hat, there would be some sort of shadowing pretty much from the hat, from whatever direction the light's coming from. And it would be, like this is a little bit darker than this would be a really nice fill value from the bounce light, from the super intense sunlight. But you would still see like some semblance of like a shadow from that hat in there. And then you do want to, like, I see some hard edge shadow shapes like here and here. I know the sun feels like it would be a very hard edge shadow, but you really do want to soften that a little bit. Not only because the sun passes through some atmosphere and it gets softened a touch, But just in animation, if you want to convey a warm, glowy, happy scene, you're going to over soften the shadows just a little bit more than reality does to kind of really emphasize that mood, not only in the shadows, but also in just the lighting quality as a whole. So yeah, so I'd work on those three things: the translucency subsurface on the shaders, clearing out some foliage from his face, and trying to manufacture some more shaping on this guy's on the little boy as well. All right, so Kevin, both you and Alejandra submitted your first projects, and I think they're really great. I'll talk about them. I know we're going back to front, but I think that we can talk about these two because I think that they play off each other really well. So this one is all about, Scorsese did such a beautiful job with Hugo. I love this film. We see reference from this a lot because it's just beautifully constructed, and your breakdown of it was excellent. You hit all the major notes. I just love that this is like kind of pretty prototypical character lighting with the shaping coming across here, the little hint at the Rembrandt lighting there, allowing the core shadow to get darkest here and then hitting it with a little rim light on this side. The way that it's atypical of character lighting is that the character is the cooler element where the warmth is in the background, which you don't always see. So that's very interesting. But like lots of use of rim light on there, really beautiful stuff. But yeah, overall, Hugo is a very cool toned film. And you, like I said, I won't talk too much because you really nailed it with your breakdown. And same thing with you, Alejandra. One thing that I really like about this, and it's very different than Hugo, where Hugo is like very kind of gritty and dark, and allows the character to really set into the space and feel like they're in that, like they're not like super, even though there's good shaping, like he's cool tone, so it's not like super beauty lit. Where in this one, it is super beauty lit. Like there's tons of cool light in the scene, but the characters are still super warm. And they pop off in the background. Like, look how much mom is popping off in this background. Like, look at the fill value on dad and her. It makes no earthly sense why there'd be that much fill light. It's a dark night. We've got light coming in this way. There's no light sources shining this way. And you can tell that by looking at some of these objects. Like, look at this over here. All that stuff is super duper dark, but the characters are still getting very bright. This is kind of a classic Disney thing. The classic Disney look is to keep keep characters on their hero color above anything else, and just making sure they're reading and they're popping. Really great breakdown by somebody of the Anna-Elsa connection, where Anna is much warmer than Elsa, who's a little disconnected and cooler. And then just really sticking to cool tones and getting those warm characters to bounce off them, regardless of what the lighting scenario is really interesting. But yeah, lots of beautiful shaping in here. Like look along the garments of each character, just in here, and then in the garment of the mom, like just really beautiful shaping and a lot of subtleness in them. That's really nice. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Jordan's. Okay, Jordan, great first attempt. Love this shot. Love the amount of like haze that we're seeing in it, like oranges and greens mixing together, but like they kind of just linger in the space. They don't fall into darkness very quickly because there's just like fog, moisture, whatever's in, steam, whatever's in the air that night, smoke from the restaurants, whatever it is, are causing that light to bleed into one another in a really soft, beautiful way. And then because of that bleeding, there's value in all of that surrounding. And then it just creates darkness in these foreground characters that really allow them to pop forward. So there's this area here that's kind of like a framing element, and then it allows the characters to really pop forward there. You did a really beautiful job in yours in using the same color palette, and you've got some really nice blending of those colors. And like I just was blown away at like watching this happen. Like, so you've got value, so we're going from light to dark, but also this color shift from warm to cool to black in a very natural, very smooth way, which is very difficult to replicate. So great job there. The one thing that I would say, that if you want to take another crack at this, again, I know this is just like a test, just to kind of get your feet wet, is to try and get like read the sphere in the middle here as the character and try and get it to be like these characters. Like you're doing kind of a traditional light over dark. Try doing a dark over light. Try having the light be like off camera here and surrounding the characters and shining in this way, and allowing the darkness of the character to really kind of stand out that way. And then and allow it to be more like periphery light as opposed to like top down stuff. And then if you want, go ahead and take the camera, shift it down so it's more eye level with that, you know, quote unquote character, and then go from there. But again, your color choices are really nice. The blending, the softness is all going really great. If this were a production, the only other thing that I would say would be there's a lot of shadow play down here, a lot of shadows going in a lot of different directions. There's one here, there's one over here, one over here. It's fine for city lighting, but it does kind of feel a little stagey. So I would just encourage an artist to soften a couple of the radiuses on those lights so you don't get like a hard shadow here and a hard shadow this way, kind of competing shadows in two different directions. And by increasing the radiance and softening those, you just, you know, draw less attention to them. And that could really help you out. And then the other thing is I would push maybe the value of the warmer tones like a touch brighter, because they're just not, there's not a lot of high, not a lot of values in the high end if we're looking at the levels here. But again, nitpicky stuff. Overall, really, really beautiful job for your first assignment. All right, so Danny, we've got a couple of images here for you. First one is the poker puss, and we've got the silhouette. We've got the scene from, I believe this is The Hustler or Sting or something. I think it's The Sting. Paul Newman, great actor. Okay, so looking at this, you've called out some technical issues with it, like the stretching on the wallpaper here and the table, and I don't ignore all that stuff because we can deal with all that later. I think the first thing that we really need to focus on is the structure of the lighting of this scene. And what you've done is you've constructed a scene that is really allowing us the opportunity for a cool lighting scenario. And you're going to get there by simplifying this. So let's look at what we're trying to do. There's two characters in the scene. We've got the silhouette in the doorway and Poker Puss. So what we want to do is we want to kind of create two kind of points of interest here. How do we do that? So, you know, the silhouette's pretty clear. You've got this bright background, silhouetted character, cool. Poker Puss is just underneath this light. So we'll allow that light to illuminate this area in here. We'll allow this to kind of happen back here. Then the rest of it's just a distraction. The rest of it's just drawing our eye away from the focus. So like this light back here on the wall, let's just get rid of that one. Like this triangle light here, get rid of it. The light over here, get rid of it for now. That like very bright edge of the bar, let's remove that just for now. We can add in some subtlety in there if we want, but this is what I'd like to construct, and you can totally disagree with me if you want. So again, let's top down light here, soft glowy light. Check out some reference of that. Light coming in here, shining in through this doorway, this type of shade that you've got here. So what's going to happen is that light is going to drive our view of the character. So the shot will come on, they'll be like, you know, your focus will either be on this character, and then these lines will be leading lines to the octopus, or backwards. So now it's like we're looking at the octopus right in the middle of the scene, then we just kind of follow this back up to the silhouetted character. There could be a little bit of rim light here on Poker Puss from this, but mostly he's illuminated from the top down stuff. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to tell the story that this octopus is focused on the poker match, but there's somebody coming in the room that she doesn't see, and like something bad could happen. It's kind of like, you know, the audience now knows something that the character doesn't, and that's a really powerful thing. So that's the type of structure I think you should do, and I would maybe build it from there. So hopefully you find that helpful. All right, I think there was another one too, right? Yes, you had another one. Here we go. Okay. So yeah, this is making huge progress. Love the shaping across the back. Like characters looking a lot better. A couple quick things before we move on from this one. So like still some hard shadows in the hair, still some specularity. You want to kind of soften that value up there. You want to brighten up these eyes a little bit more. Let's take this. This might be too intense, but just kind of exemplify it here. We want to do something more like this for the eyes. Just give them to pop, get them to read a little bit stronger. Additionally, we can probably swing that key light, or I'm sorry, the ding light on the eyes to the opposite side, just because now it feels like the light's coming in from this way. It's kind of like, it's kind of coming down. I can see the shadow here. So we want to maybe flip the ding light over to that side. The last thing I would do that I would watch out for is just like this edge of the couch. There's like a haze on it. So it's like a sharp edge and then like a little bit of a haze. So just, it feels oddly blurry, but it should be kind of in focus, and like all the stuff back behind it is out of focus. So just watch out for that. So, and then just like this is kind of a super dark value in here. So just like a little bit more softness on the character, but really great job. Really feeling the top down lighting. And then if, as always with this character, that's a forever struggle, is just trying to find a way of pushing more specularity into the skin tones. Ashley, you are up next. Yes, so Ashley, cool stuff. Like your reference, love the candlelight, glowy pool, that's cool, great. Sign in the background, cool. I think that for the structure of this shot, you have a great opportunity to have like a glowing pool that's creating a big soft fill bounce light all around the character here, and then this warm light in the middle is functioning as the key. I don't really care so much about this deep background as much. I think you can really tell a fun story just in the foreground elements. Like keep them back there, and keep them out of focus, but make sure that we're really kind of centering things in on the character, because I think that this light creating shaping across the character, maybe glowing through the cards wouldn't be that thick, glowing, kind of creating some really nice subsurface scattering on the tentacles, and shaping stuff up that way, I think could really play out well. And then, similar to the reference, the lights, it feels like it, like look at all the light here on this wall and these surroundings all around the edge of the pool. There's light, there are lights in swimming pools. And so just like really kind of playing that up, that purplish, bluish light from underneath. And I think you can go pretty far, but this is a good start. I love the potential of this. So yeah, let's keep going and keep pushing. So good job there. Alfredo, great. Love it. Love Coraline. Love what Leica did with this film. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. The aesthetics are phenomenal. One of my favorite animated films. And I think that you're replicating this well. And I think there's only a few little tweaks that I would consider. Number one is I think that you can go brighter and warmer right around this front area. Like just like right in here. You take this and push it a little brighter. And then you can eventually glow it, and then push this side just a little bit warmer. And then you can, again, this is just like a mock-up, but something a little bit more like that. And then additionally, you can take the back half of the image, darken it, just expose it down a little bit. And then you can, there's more opportunity to create some more shaping back in here. So like allowing that to really focus is in here, similar to how the reference is. There's some dark values in here, and like it's kind of all shaping back there. But then like and then playing with this warm to cool fall off, similar to what the reference is. But yeah, other than that, beautiful stuff. Love the shaping on the character, love the focus on the face, love the storytelling. Yeah, all around it's great. You're really pushing it, and I would very much be proud of this. All right, Aaron. Okay, so we've got two examples here. So we've got the Hellboy reference. So Hellboy, like looking at these, there's a lot of really there are bright elements, like this lava flow, this creature, the sword, but all of them are doing a really good job of leading us to the character, right? So these drippy lava flows are leading us down to the character. This is like, you know, to direct the viewer's eye here. This glowiness is to get us back there. So I think that what we should do is utilize that by like using some of these bright areas to really kind of focus us in on the character, either in the background or in like maybe in the rims on each tentacle that could lead up in the posturing to his face, and I think that could work out really well. I love the balance of the light in these references, like just like how do you push all this super red warm light onto a already red character? It's actually kind of orange light onto the red character to get him to function that way. So like I think you're pulling that off really well. I think you can actually go darker on this fill. I think you can push the subsurface scattering and the key and like really kind of get a glowiness. I think another character that you should possibly look at is Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean quadrilogy, or whatever it is. I forget. I think they made 5 of them, because that character's skin tone is really beautiful, and it's got like it's the same kind of octopus thing, but like just a lot of subsurface, a lot of detail in there, and I think that you could pull from that reference as well. Love the background that you got going on here. Like these colors are just really beautiful. But it's just a matter of, yeah. So I think the biggest things that I would work on based on your reference are using these brighter elements, because they seem like randomly sprinkled in your scene, to kind of get them to more focus in on the character. Number 2, I would darken this fill light. And number 3, also, like I was just realizing this looking at it. I see some like these multicolored lights in the background here, and they're not like there's just like a kind of a disconnect a little bit from what's going on in the background and what's going on in the foreground. And if you look at this Hellboy stuff, it's pretty monochromatic. So I would push you to be a little bit more monochromatic about your look. Either kind of go all warm or push more of these colors in the foreground. That might actually be the better choice. So maybe use the contrast from the Hellboy reference, but add in a little bit more color into the foreground a little bit. Because I think, yeah, I actually kind of really like that color, and I think we could really serve that up well. Yeah, Aaron, I think that would be a good way to go here. You also did the Fishbowl thing, so this is a tough one, man, because you've got so much glass and caustics and refractions, and I do like the story that's being told. So the biggest thing is it's like, okay, so it just feels like this is a single light source scene, right? In fact, if it isn't, I would just start with just one light source. It looks like there's light coming in here from the screen right side, but I'm also seeing like all this light here on him, but like kind of nowhere else in the scene. And that's a little it's a little discombobulating, especially because we're not seeing any of the background and it's just kind of lit over black. So so that's number 1, is just I would isolate it to just a single light source and just see what we get from there, because there's a lot of technical stuff to go through. So there's like, if we're talking about ray bounces, we've got to go through one bounce through the glass, other bounces through the water, the opposite side of the glass. How does the water look in there? And it's not like it's not doable. It certainly is, but there's a lot of reference to look at and how that refraction would look like. I don't think that the water would get this kind of hazy around the outside. I think it would be much more clear. So I actually don't think his color would be as distorted as that. I think it would be more clear, and it's more about the warbliness of the face. Additionally, as light's coming in this way, We've got it hitting here. We can have it hitting on some of these tentacles. And then like, it'd be kind of cool if it did a little backscatter on these. You know, maybe it hit the table here in the middle. However you want to do it, but it's basically like there's a disjoint between his head and the rest of the scene. His head's getting like kind of beautified 3-point lighting, but we're not really seeing it anywhere else. Yeah, so I think that would be the biggest thing. And then like we can get the water to look like, because Fishbowl water doesn't really look like much of anything. Like you can check out Finding Nemo, has good fish tank reference. Like you don't really see that much. It's just some bubbles coming up every now and again. It's more about the caustics and that kind of thing. So so yeah, so I think I would focus on clearing up that water, checking some reference, getting the light to shine through, and really isolating it down to just one light, and then we can build it up from there. All right, so that's it for tonight, everybody. Thank you all for your patience. Again, I'm still figuring out my schedule here as I'm traveling, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do tomorrow's later or earlier in the day, but I'll get there, and by next week we'll have some more family here to help us out, and I will have some more time. So hopefully that works out well, and I can just do these at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon every day during nap time. So during my kids' nap time, I don't get nap time. So okay, that's it for today. Thank you all very much, and happy lighting, everybody.